The healthcare battle is raging right now. Everyone is pointing fingers at everyone else, but the stock market apparently loves what's going on with the shutdown as we hit an all-time high. We can't lose sight of something that Eric Weinstein is calling revolutionary empathy, and it's exactly what's behind the horrifying terror attack in Manchester, targeting Jews on Yom Kippur, which is the holiest day of their year. Musk and others canceling their Netflix subscriptions. It's around children's shows discussing LGBTQ+ values. Nuclear safety fears spike at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant in the Ukraine.
I'm seeing CNN, I'm seeing Michael Johnson. Everybody's kind of positioning what's really happening. So I want to play two clips. The first one is Mike Johnson speaking on CNN. They actually stopped the clip. I'll let you guys figure out why when I play it. Here we go.
The Working Families Tax Cut included a huge provision. A big chunk of that bill was the health provisions. Now, why are we saying that they want to restore taxpayer-funded benefits to illegal aliens? Because that's exactly what they did. When they rejected the clean CR that we sent over, the Senate Democrats,
all right, we're listening here to Spike.
Just as a PSA, anybody who's on a camera, and obviously I include myself, is either intentionally or unintentionally spinning propaganda. I am constantly framing things within my own frame of reference, my own viewpoint, so take my comments about Candace and Michael Saylor, right? Those are from my viewpoint. CNN, literally as he was about to explain it, just propagandizes and turns him down so that you can't hear his explanation. That's wild. That's somebody who's like, I'm so afraid of the argument from the other side. I'm not even gonna let people hear it because they might be persuaded. That to me is stupid. Now, of course, they believe that they're right, or they believe that it's gonna be good for TV, or whatever it is that they believe, but they are propagandizing. And this is one of the most dangerous things all of us need to be aware of, is how we're being controlled by algorithms. Nobody is necessarily right, but everybody is trying to convince you that they're right. This is why you need to be thinking up from first principles. So anyway, we'll get to the specifics of what's going on with the government shutdown, but like things like that, just watch out for. Have your mind tuned to this person has an agenda. They are trying to convince me of something. So anyway, most of the mainstream media outlets are a propaganda arm for either the left or the right, which should make everybody very sad. So by all means, dip in to find out, what does the right think? You're going to go to Fox. What does the left think? You're going to go to CNN, NBC, ABC, whatever. But like, you want to understand, oh, okay, cool. This is what the official narrative is from these sides. Even if you think that those people are well-meaning, they are still giving you just blatant propaganda. So I hated that. Now, in terms of what is his argument, it's taken me a while to piece together behind the scenes what's actually going on. So the big, beautiful bill stripped out coverage from the Affordable Care Act for a lot of people. And it did it by adding requirements. So it's like, hey, you can't just qualify. Like, you've got to be trying to get a job or whatever. The specifics of that I don't have right in front of me. So just think of it as there were people previously that didn't have to prove that they qualified. They're now going to have to do certain things to justify their inclusion. So basically those people, they're calling they've been bumped off. And then the propaganda game right now is all about, the right is just gonna say this is all about illegal immigration. The left wants to give illegal immigrants healthcare coverage. Now that seems beyond refutation from where I'm sitting. We showed the clip on Wednesday, we show it again, other outlets are showing it. During the 2020 presidential run-up, so this is actually in 2019, there was a panel of presidential hopefuls, Democrats, every one of them, and they were asked, and there's like, 9 of them, 12 of them, something like that. Raise your hand if your platform, your policy platform would include giving undocumented immigrants healthcare coverage. Every single one of them raised their hand. So to say that the left doesn't want undocumented, illegal, whatever your favorite word is, coverage is ridiculous.
Can I push back on that?
Please.
Because I feel like if you would have asked them the same question, does your platform include student loan forgiveness? Everyone would have raised their hand.
Yeah, also
but
suicidal.
That doesn't necessarily mean that there's a legislation right now for student loan forgiveness. For sure.
Yeah. Awesome point. But what I'm saying is, you're in a political game. Political games come with trying to control how you perceive something. And so what I'm saying is, I think My perspective.
Copy.
So, hey, again, Tom's lost in his own propaganda. But my perspective is, without a doubt, the platform of the left is everybody deserves healthcare. So I'm just saying, okay, given that we know that, they want that. So when pushed now, they're not just coming out and saying, yes, we want it, but that isn't what we're pushing for in the bill. Okay, they're not saying that. Now, why do I think they are most likely not saying that? They are most likely not saying that because it is very easy to confuse people when you actually look at the language as to what's going on. So truly, by definition, illegal immigrants do not have a right to anything other than emergency healthcare. Okay, so first of all, you've already got emergency healthcare, so illegal immigrants will get that.
Yeah.
Where people draw the line, is it life-saving? Is it just going to the ER? I'm not sure where that will break. But the real debate is, when do we consider somebody illegal? Are they illegal if they came here illegally but have been moved to temporary protected status? Because the argument from the right is the shell game that they're playing is twofold. Shell game number one is they came in illegally, but for whatever reason they got temporary protected status. The right is claiming the left did that specifically to get them healthcare and I'm sure other things, but that more again, if you consider them illegal, if they came here illegally, regardless of how they got moved around by the Democrats, that if you consider those people illegal, then yes, the changes that they are trying to make right now, that they have shut the government down over, would allow the people who came in illegally, got moved to things like temporary protected status, will now get coverage. Now, when you really look at the numbers, though, that's a pretty small part of it. Like, I get it. It's the rallying cry. It is what the right is going to bang the drum about because call it of the 1.5 million, it's probably somewhere around 12% or something of that number would go to people that are immigrants. And now we get into the debate about whether they're legal, illegal, but that still leaves like 85, almost 90% of, why don't we talk about that? So nobody's talking about that, which is like all the qualifications. The qualification stuff where it changed their status accounts for like $900 million of the 1.5 trillion, just to give people a sense of like what the real battle is. So there's two ways to look at this. And that is, this is just all propaganda. And then the other is, no, there's a sincere debate to be had about like when are they considered legal, illegal? But nobody's talking at that level. They're all just trying to give messages that are easy to repeat.
No, 100%. And I want to jump into the Rokhan on the All In podcast because he breaks down exactly just that, the 90-10 difference of what is driving the conversation.
We're on the verge of a shutdown, where the argument on the other side says that the tax credits and the healthcare subsidies will largely go to folks that are here illegally. Can you confirm or debunk that?
First of all, it's a very small portion of people that we're talking about. So 90% is not anything to do with those who are undocumented. That's just the math, right? I mean, so we can argue about,
He's correct about
the
that.
10%. But we have in this country something called emergency Medicaid. What does that mean?
This becomes very clear very fast. So I just started talking to ChatGPT and Grok, and going back and forth between the two, like trying to figure out what's real. Okay, what about this? Where's that number come from? Okay, what's the total? How much of it goes to immigrants? What's the debate about? Like, you don't have to ask but like 5 or 6 questions, and you're like, oh, I get what this is. It is wild to me that people don't do that research. They just stay at the headline level, get super angry, and start freaking out. Like the fear that I have is based on time, intelligence, desire. Like, you can really control a populace just with headlines. Just with headlines. So anyway, if you're here, odds are you're not the person that gets sucked in just by headlines, but don't want the other team to be wrong. Merely want yourself to be maximally educated so that you can steer well in life. Remember, skills have utility. So I have a really strong worldview about money printing, socialism bad, all of that. So who is Drew pitching me as guests? People that believe the exact opposite. And I love that, because even if they end up proving that I'm wrong, that's super useful. For however much money that we make running impact theory, I make way more in my investments. So my investments dwarf what I make as a business guy at this point in my career. Obviously, there was a period where that wasn't true, but when you understand something real, you can do things in life other people can't do. So just remember as we listen to this, if you hear things from me or anybody else that like hurt because they make you realize you were wrong, just remember being right has utility. Being wrong only has like emotional value. So anyway, just a PSA. We'll return to the show in just a second, but first, let's talk about priorities. You're committed to eating high quality protein, as you should be, but you're also committed to not wasting time. You could spend your weekends driving to different butcher shops, comparing cuts, hoping they have what you need, or you could do what actually makes sense, have premium protein delivered to your door on a schedule you control. That's what I do, and that's why my entire freezer is stocked with ButcherBox. I know exactly what I'm getting every time. Quality I can count on without needing to leave my house. With ButcherBox, you're not getting some random selection they want to get rid of. You're getting a full year of whichever protein you actually use the most. Consistent quality you can trust, delivered when you want it. New users receive their choice of steak tips, ground beef, or chicken breast for free for a year, plus $20 off. Head to butcherbox.com/impact and use code IMPACT to pick your free protein and get the $20 off. Now, let's get back to the show.
All right. Jumping back into the video.
I don't think if you're undocumented and you show up to a hospital that you should be denied care. Well, who pays for that? We have an emergency Medicaid program. And I guess if you mean that when you fund Medicaid, when you fund the Affordable Care Act, that you're saying you're funding some of it for undocumented people who are showing up in emergency situations, then yeah, you're funding that. My view of it is that, let's be honest, that's not where the big money and the budgets are. You're talking about a small group of folks. You can argue the cultural point about it, but don't make that the numbers point.
Yeah, nice and sensible. That's not going to light the internet on fire. That's not memeable. That's not exciting. And so the problem is that the game of politics is a game of narrative control. And narrative control is done by triggering emotions, giving people things that are easy to remember, giving people things that are easy to repeat, memeing it to death. Here's the thing. Trump is hilarious. Like the Hakeem Jeffries post that he does where the mariachi band appears behind him. That is outrageous in like the truest sense of the word. I was like, what is happening? I had to check. I was like, is this a parody account? So he knows how to do it. He knows how to do it. Like he knows how to speak in the language of the internet. He knows how to trigger people's emotions, and it works. People talk about him all the time. It's wild. So, but if you want to get to what is actually true and real, like the real debate that we should be having is, do we want to shut down the government over healthcare when we have plenty of time to negotiate this before the subsidies run out? So there's plenty of time to have this conversation without shutting down the government, but they are causing a shutdown of the government now. Are we okay with the fact that the Democrats signed off on a continuing resolution bill 13 times, and now off of a budget that was set under Biden, they're not willing to extend? So it's like, if we were having the debate at the real level, it's more nuanced, it's not as easy to repeat, but if we could actually have the conversation at that level, then we might be able to make some headway. But yeah, this stuff it's just complicated enough, it's just nuanced enough that they know, it's not gonna work to have the conversation at that level. So publicly, I'm gonna say all this crazy outlandish shit, and then privately, hopefully, they're having the real conversation. But the real conversation, as Rose pointing out here, is about the 90% of people that got booted off via the BBB. Do we want that or not? And then nobody is talking about this adds even more money than the BBB did, which is wild. Like, this is insane. You are enslaving your own children. I don't have kids, Drew, and I'm like, the fuck are people doing? You are enslaving them in debt.
Trying to save 40% on healthcare premiums.
Jesus Christ. Not only are you enslaving your children in debt, you are guaranteeing a revolution. And I don't mean big, scary thing. I mean revolution. I mean actual bloodshed. I mean people dying in the streets. That's what I mean. And people just can't see it. Bro, look at what's happening with Mamdani, okay? Might be a lovely human, but he's arguing for the most murderous, self-destructive policies on planet Earth. And I seriously doubt he's doing it because he's a murderous person. He's doing it because young people today have no hope in the current system. And so he's just like, well, I'll give him hope. And he has convinced himself that these systems that murder endlessly will somehow work this time. And this has been memed to death, but is still, when people are hopeless, I'm going to use a video game reference, Drew. Mm-hmm. In Minecraft, you can eat rotten zombie flesh. Now, it poisons you, but you can still eat it. That's what people are doing with socialism. It's like, well, I'm starving, so I'm going to eat something. And sure, if the only thing that I have to eat is rotten zombie flesh, then I'm going to eat the rotten zombie flesh because I just can't stop myself. People lost at sea will drink seawater. Wild, because it's going to kill you even faster, but it's wet and I'm thirsty. Yeah. That's socialism.
That reminds me of a clip I seen on Twitter from Mr. Fishbag, James Fishbag. And I think this kind of grounds what you're saying. And I want to put this in context with some of the things that Trump has been doing and just has this contributed to the general sentiment of the country.
The federal government budget is 54% higher today than it was right before COVID in 2019.
That is insane.
Ask yourself, is your life 54% better? The government services, the government response, is it 54% better than it was before COVID? The answer is obviously no. We got too many bureaucrats, too much spending, Doge the entire system. Yeah. Let's do round two of Doge, a turbo Doge speed run over the next month.
It won't work, man. So posit that, oh God, that is a really good way to put it. Yeah. I think everybody understands that things have not gotten better, at least not to that degree. The problem is that so much of that spending just had to do with going on a hiring spree. Mm-hmm. And so you can affect your jobs numbers and your GDP, shockingly, simply by hiring people into the government. And it's ridiculous because that's phantom. It's not real. You're not actually adding to the productive economy, but you're giving people jobs, you're money printing. So even the money is phantom, but nonetheless, it looks good on certain reports. It makes people feel good. They now have a job. We can say, hey, things are growing. Mm-hmm. So when you do that, when you create a system that is that inefficient, you create the situation that we're in now, where people are never going to let you cut because they certainly don't want to move backwards. They're like panicking already. So they're not going to want to move backwards. But nonetheless, the system that they view as reducing it would be moving backwards is not delivering the outputs that it needs to deliver, and it's making things worse. I really, really, really want people to understand what a positive feedback loop is. Pregnancy is a positive feedback loop. And so it just keeps going. Unless you interrupt it, it's going to keep going until 9 months later, the woman starts having contractions and the baby is ejected from her womb. Mm-hmm. So it's like there's a hormonal cascade that keeps us all moving. And so as the hormones hit like a certain amount of different types in a certain cadence at different timing, then boom, the baby comes out. Mm-hmm. So that's what we have here. Like, we will go broke. We will go broke. There is a knowable sequence of actions that leads us to going broke that we are doing, which is roughly, hey, if you add $1 trillion to your debt every 100 days, then you're going to go bankrupt. It's not an if, you're going to go bankrupt. It's mathematically certain. So it's a positive feedback loop. The more debt you add, the faster you add the debt, the more likely you are to go bankrupt until there's nothing you can do. So the number is, of course, just debatable enough, but every country that has ever gone over 130% debt to GDP for any meaningful amount of time, which will clock at roughly 18 months to 2 years, has torn itself apart from the inside. The only exception is Japan. And so then people will point at Japan and be like, see, then Barasi, it doesn't matter. It matters. It matters, it matters, it matters. When 98% of the time it happens, it matters. And it matters a lot. And plus, I think Japan's in trouble. So there's that.
You're just saying full stop, you think that they're in trouble?
Mm-hmm. They've already been stagnant for like 40 years. You can only do that for so long before things start to break. I don't know the current state of the yen carry trade, but I know it's now had 2 big reductions that have washed a ton of people out. And so that means that the Japanese bank is no longer able to basically manipulate the value of their currency effectively enough. And so it's starting to get out of their control. And if they completely lose control of that, then they're really going to be in a rough spot.
It seems that like on paper, the economy is doing good. You mentioned this during the intro that the stock market.
What part of the economy, though? Part of the economy is doing great. If you own assets, you're loving life.
Stock market, like you're doing good.
Bro.
Housing market.
Bro, I've made millions of dollars in like the last 6 months. It's wild.
Yeah.
But if you don't own assets, sorry, game over. Your life sucks. You are in a brutal spot.
Yeah, and that leads me to the jobs report.
10% of Americans own 93% of the assets.
Sheesh.
Yeah. So, listen, there are people in chat saying that I'm on the basically the wrong side of the revolution. I'm on the they didn't say elite side, the aristocrat side. Okay, that's true. I have won the game of capitalism. Got it. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't understand people that go, oh, I know how to win in this system, but I'm not going to. That doesn't make any sense. I also loathe people who know how to win in the system and don't want to tell anybody else. Drew, there is not a single piece of information that I have not told people. They can ask me any question they want, and I will give them the best answer I have. I'll even talk faster, which makes me lose audience, by the way. The team is always telling me, if you want to know why in the deep dives I talk so fucking slowly, that's why they perform better. I'm trying to give people the information, both on an entrepreneurship side, on a mindset side, on the economy, how to invest side. I'm giving them all my best stuff, Drew, all my best stuff. And so at a minimum, you certainly can't say I'm just like, go eat cake. But yeah.
Yeah. Because that led me to
JH, trust me, I am well aware. I'm well aware, man.
CNBC just reported that they revised both the August and September numbers. That was a positive 54 to now a negative 32. These are in thousands. So it seems like jobs are being lost. We're lost neither a million jobs just with layoffs. So it seems on one side, if you just look at number go up, the economy is the best it's ever been. But when you're seeing unemployment numbers tick up, you're seeing record layoffs, you're seeing these job report revisions are like, oh yeah, those jobs weren't there. So we're starting to feel the underlying assets. So if those 10% who own assets are doing good, does that mean the economy is doing good? And as long as the asset holders are benefiting,
we really have to define do good. If you've been investing in the stock market, dollar cost averaging in for the last 20 years, you love life right now.
Yeah.
If you are a young person who was taught nothing about the economy, you can't afford a house, all of your money's going away because in the last 5 years alone, inflation has been 25% and wages have been effectively stagnant. If you are, call it just the average person who's like, there are no manufacturing jobs. We went from, I think, 30% manufacturing as a nation in like 1960 to 10% now. So there is a type of person for whom their passion, their abilities, their talents lead them into manufacturing is like the perfect thing, or a trade. And we've shit on that for God knows how many decades. We've raised men to not be aggressive, to be somehow ashamed of all their natural impulses. It's crazy. And if you want workers to be able to influence their wages, then you cannot be offshoring everything. You just can't, because you make it a global market, and then people are going to go wherever they can get the cheapest labor, and that's just the way that it is. Also, what people buying things want is the cheapest thing ever. So the great hilarity is people both loathe Jeff Bezos and use the shit out of everything that he's built. What he's done is an economic miracle. It is unbelievable. He has given everybody everything they've ever wanted for cheaper.
In 2 days.
And people are super mad about that he's really won, like won. But guess how he won? He won by doing a very, very hard thing that people really wanted.
Yeah. But at the same time, when non-asset holders are struggling, job reports are getting revised down. Good old Donald Trump is at a record high, 7.3 billion, showing his wealth increase, especially over the last year. So whether it's becoming the sneakers or the steaks or the Bibles
does he sell Trump Bibles?
Yeah, there was a Trump Bible.
For real?
There was a Trump Bible, the World Liberty coin.
Wait. I need some stats on this.
There was a Trump Bible.
How many copies has he sold?
That I don't know.
Oh my God.
He was definitely selling like...
Chat, come on. Somebody has to know how many copies of his Bible he sold.
God Bless the USA, the original God Bless the USA Bible. $60 Bibles?
The USA Bible. This is amazing. This is the kitschiest thing I've ever heard of in my life. I might need a USA Bible.
If Trump is going to make you buy a Bible? Jesus,
bro, come on.
How you work is how you work. Who am I? Who am I to judge, God?
There's different covers. Oh my God. As somebody who's made unique comic...
Well done, G.
That
G's
was
on it
so
for the
good.
100th. G's on it for the 100th.
Gee, that might be my greatest sound effect cue of all time. That was incredible. Hold on. So when we were doing comic books, which by the way, shout out to the Japanese.
It keeps getting better.
Bro, Jesus Christ.
Getting better.
I hope you guys are looking at your phones right now. There's no way any of this is real. This is all fake. I refuse to believe this is not
only
AI.
guitar officially endorsed by President Donald J. Trump in gold letters. You know that's his thing.
Amazing.
You know that's his thing. This is our president. Oh man, America.
All right, hold on. I've got a whole bunch of nested thoughts open. So one, shout out to the Japanese comic market. Baruto sold 10 million copies in 2025.
Sheesh.
Bro, there's no money in comics, as I learned the hard way. But as I was going down the path of, okay, how am I going to make this work? Ends up leading me to Japan. They've just done it well. They've done it by focusing on kids. Okay, close that loop. The US Bible having multiple covers. This is something you do in comics so that people will buy multiple because they want to be a completionist. They want all the covers. It's phenomenal. It's actually how the only way the very limping and nearly destroyed American comic book market stays alive is with collectors that want all the covers. The fact that his USA Bible has multiple covers so that you will buy more. I love it and hate it at the same time, Drew. I love it and hate it at the same time. This is amazing. This is amazing. I have so many conflicting feelings about all this right now. This is wild.
So I remember you called
your audience.
The meme coin release, like the Trump coin, icky, and that was kind of a wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
This is my frustration. And let me just get on my soapbox for a second. Because I think right now we're knee deep in a government shutdown, arguing about 10% of a bill revision that impacts a small marginal community. Meanwhile, grocery prices are still high, inflation is still kicking, unemployment's starting to tick up.
Well, okay, in fairness, right now inflation is not a problem, but it went up 25% in the last 5 years. I don't want people to think that I'm pushing like some false narrative, but got it.
It's not zero, it's not negative, how you would like to
which
say.
is what it should be.
Yes. So there are real things that need to be established, but yet I feel like we're distracted by all of these things.
Yes. So
how do I not be pessimistic and say, what, politicians don't care about us, Trump trying to sell his Bibles, let me just sling my thing to get rich and get out.
Oh my God, thank you for that question. And I swear you did not set me up for this. Thank you. I actually love this. Okay. All of my deep dives, I now end with, first I make a pitch for, okay, this is what we'd have to change at the societal level. I'm so pessimistic about that, that then I end with, well, okay, you can do these in your own life. And if I could get people to just go, I can control my own life. I may not be able to control society, but there is a way to win. And you live in the age of AI and the internet. You can find all of this information out. This information is knowable. So if you want to win right now, you have to be in assets. And there is a modern miracle called the stock market. And the stock market, they are trying to, really smart people, really financially savvy people are trying to use the stock market to take from, they're trying to hustle dumb people, okay? And so if I'm going to the casino and I'm gonna play against these really savvy people who are counting cards, they know how the game works, and so they're just trying to take my money. And then I will remind you, okay, cool, that is what's happening, but they, in all of their trying to create this rigged game, they created something where as long as all you bet on is the game itself, you effectively can't lose. Now, there are no guarantees in life, but you effectively can't lose. So I know that you like the flashing lights of the
slot machine.
The fucking thing called
slot machine.
Slot machine. There we go. I know you like all the lights of that, and I know that the people over on the craps table look like they're having a great time, and I know that you think that you've got a 2% advantage when you play blackjack. Don't play any of those games. Just bet on the game itself. Just bet that people are going to walk in and play. That's it. It's going to take you 20 years. So you're going to watch some people get rich overnight, and they're going to celebrate it, and they're going to put it up on the boards, and they're going to try to sucker you into playing those games. Don't do it. Just bet on the fact that people are going to play the game. And if people can stomach that it takes 20 years, it's not binary, by the way. You're making more money. You probably won't have more than a 3 or 4 year stretch where you're not making money. So for the most part, during that 20-year run, like you're actually going to be like winning. You're going to be making additional money as you go, and you just keep dollar cost averaging in, not trying to be smart, not trying to outsmart the market, just saying, I don't know, but I know that people are going to build companies, and I know that they're going to go public, and I know that people are going to bet on them. And so I'm just going to be here and I'm just going to write it. And for the last 200 years, again, there's no guarantees, but for the last 200 years, if you just stayed in over, I forget, a 10-year period or 20-year period, it always comes out to roughly 6.5% over inflation. So the stock market has outpaced inflation, which if you have heard me talk endlessly about it, you know exactly why. And so that's it. Like you just get into assets. Now I'd much rather be giving you a spiel about buying a house, but alas, this is not necessarily a good time to buy a house because that is super tied to interest rates, which right now are, given that we're in fiscal dominance, is bad mojo. So that's it. And if people can embrace that, I can win individually. I may not be able to sway the whole society, but I can still win individually. Great. Now you have to be willing to take some risk. You have to be willing to get rich slow. One of my favorite stories about this, if you guys don't know Wall Street Trapper, I love that guy. He went to prison, gangbanger growing up, just like the guy you expect to rot in jail, goes to jail and happens to get a cellmate who understands the stock market. And his cellmate was like, let me tell you how the game is rigged. You can actually play to win. And just recently, Wall Street Trapper, friend of the show, absolutely love him, made $1 million on a single trade.
Let's go.
So it is really, 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 really impressive. And again, when you hear him talk, I wish you could hear him from a couple years ago, 5 years ago, because he really sounds street. And so it's like you think, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. And he is over there just stacking money. And he's doing it the slow way, like just, I'm going to be in the market for a long time. He's probably been investing now for more than a decade. So he's just like in there learning about it, like reading like reports on companies and like just doing the whole, like, I'm going to own the things that I wear. So instead of like going and buying a new pair of Nike shoes, I'm going to go invest in Nike. And it's brilliant. And what has happened to him, I pray to sweet baby Jesus that he just keeps being steady Eddie and just keeps doing his thing. He also gives like educational opportunities to a lot of people. I think it's in Georgia. So, I mean, it's just really, really, really incredible. So anyway, you can win at the individual level.
Okay, I want to jump into the Eric Weinstein, Piers Morgan, because going back to kind of this is how we evolved, I think he's talking about maybe a mutation of that evolution where this empathy is kind of going deranged.
Just explain to me what your overview is about where we find ourselves post the Charlie Kirk murder.
I guess from my perspective, it's been fairly clear to me that we've been aggressively normalizing revolutionary thinking, and we don't recognize it when we see it. So as a result, you have decided that you've created people who I don't really think exist. You might call them the woke or progressives, but coming from a relatively progressive left of center family myself, we used to recognize these people as revolutionaries. And you'll see them by their empathy. Their empathy is entirely shifted. So if you've seen any of the interviews of random college students asked about Charlie Kirk's murder and they're smirking or they're happy or they're making jokes.
Yeah, it's been really shocking.
What you're seeing is, well, that's the odd part. It's not really shocking at all. You just don't realize what you've been looking at. Revolutionaries have a shifted empathy.
Okay, so that's the part that I want people to hear. Like throughout this exchange, Eric is going to keep saying, I'm baffled by the fact that you're baffled. Like, what's happening? To really put a fine point in this, and I am startled to see in the chat that people are saying, or at least a person is saying that Eric is a moron. Jesus Christ. Please remember that there is a big difference between somebody being wrong about something. So even if he is wrong about a theory of everything, that does not make him a moron. So Eric is trying to get people to understand that evolution has given us modes of empathy. The way I like to think about it is evolution had to deal with the following problem. You need to go from loving and protecting your kid and feeling this warmth and like, oh my God, I couldn't imagine anything bad ever happening to my child. I would lay my life down for my child, for my wife. for my tribe. I love these people. You feel that like deep sense of connection and joy and one. I mean, it's really a beautiful feeling that I think many people would say, this is why they say God is love. They feel that. Okay, that same creature that's like, God is love. I love this person. Somebody comes into your village to try to kill your people. A switch flips in your brain and you want to see their insides spilled all over the floor. And you will literally take your own hand and ram it into their eye until their eyeball bursts. You will gut them from head to toe. You will drag their corpse around the streets. I mean, this is what people do. What Eric is saying is that is an innate part of the human animal. And once somebody flips that switch and goes, they are the other, they will harm the people that I love, that they have. And they do have that God is love, sense of wonder. I would give anything for these people. They have all of that for their in-group. So if you're looking for them to look like a drooling maniac, they're not going to. But they are going to laugh when the other side dies. Think about it in World War II. He's going to talk about this. In fact, I will just say that. Remember World War II? We, the quote-unquote good guys, we were writing things on our bombs that we were dropping. We were not exactly loving and kind to the Japanese or to the Germans. So that is revolutionary empathy. Let's let my mans take it away.
They're at war. They're at war with the system in which they embed. And the nurses administering your IV, the person making your coffee, the person at the DMV processing your driver's license, is someone who is often completely unsympathetic with the society in which you exist and who would ask for its overthrow, potentially with violence, and often violence is to be celebrated. So, you know, there's language around this called direct action. And I just have this feeling that effectively Americans haven't been, I don't know, in contact with revolutionary thinking enough to understand that it's an entirely shifted empathy complex.
But is it almost worse than that? If they were genuine revolutionaries, then perhaps I would subscribe to that theory. I also think a lot of them have been contaminated by the constant refrain that Trump's Adolf Hitler, that his supporters are Nazis, they're all a bunch of fascists, that if you are a bit of an unhinged young brain and you keep hearing that repeatedly and you see it all over your TikTok and everything else, that eventually you sort of see it almost as a civic duty to defend your nation against these Nazis. I think that's part of the problem. But I also, but I also felt with, I'll come to that as well in a moment, but just on that point you make about empathy, when I watched those clips, these weren't just young people being stupid, because you could kind of explain that.
So here's the interesting thing here is, and Eric does push back on this, is it's not, the dime is not dropping for peers. And in fairness, I think that sometimes Eric's language can be a little erudite. And so in my deep dive, in fact, if we, the great irony, the word erudite is erudite. It's overly fancy. It's so highbrow that people are like, what? Eric will often tweet something that makes me think of something where I'm like, ooh, like if he means this, that's really powerful. But I'm often like, did he mean that? So yeah, I would love to see Eric say things in a, and look, Eric needs to be Eric, so whatever. But those messages, I'm glad, sometimes get brought down to a more colloquial way of speaking, because sometimes they're just a little too hard to parse.
A single gunshot rang out.
If you get to the part where I mention radical or revolutionary empathy, it's like it's got its own section. I now think I was correct in what Eric was trying to describe. So originally in the piece, you're going to hear me say, I'm not sure that I'm explaining correctly what he means. I think I am. All right, so here it is. This is from the deep dive that I did on Monday, which you guys should definitely watch, about Charlie Kirk and what Charlie Kirk's assassination means, more than just the assassination itself. So here we go. This is part 2, Revolutionary Empathy is Deadly.
Revolutionary empathy, it's deadly. In 1789, France's top 1% controlled nearly half the wealth, while bread prices consumed roughly 80% of the average worker's wage. I hope that sounds distressingly familiar. This unsustainable economic position led to the French Revolution, during which guillotines were brought out into the streets and the elites found themselves being beheaded. Within 3 years of the French Revolution kicking off, over 16,000 people had been executed. The bad thing about bloodlust is that once it gets started, it is nearly impossible to stop, because it's not about ideology or even problem solving. It's about thinking emotionally and being enraged and then riding the wave of lunatic certainty that comes along with that. That's why by 1794, Robespierre, the guy who had originally called for justice in the streets, was himself dragged to the guillotine. Violence stops being about a cause and starts being the solution for anyone you don't like. That is the loop. And that's why the French Revolution didn't end in equality. It ended in tyranny and empire. Napoleon understood that bloodlust couldn't just be switched off. It had to be refocused. And that's how he rose from the bloodshed, by channeling France's revolutionary rage away from itself and into 16 years of near constant wars of conquest that killed over 3 million people across Europe. It's simply nothing to do with equality. Once the masses get a taste for literal blood, once they are reasoning emotionally, they become a swarm of locusts that will devour anything before them. That's us, all of us. Nobody escapes that. History is clear. When economic despair fuses with envy and ideology, violence is inevitable. It's only a question of scale. Eric Weinstein introduced me to a term he calls revolutionary empathy. Now, honestly, I don't know if he came up with that or if I'm even using it in the way that he intended it. But for me, those words perfectly encapsulate what's happening right now. And it's critical to understanding this moment. If you want to know how it's possible that someone could justify murder or how people could cheer it on, look no further than revolutionary empathy. Evolution had to come up with a solution for making sure that humans could flip a switch in their mind and go from loving and protecting their own to the wholesale slaughter of an invading group. This is the anti-empathy seen in times of war and revolution. That's how you get Luigi Mangione and Tyler Robinson, two men with disparate motivations, being connected by the same psychological virus. Both believed in the absolute righteousness of their cause. Both believed the person in front of them wasn't just wrong, they were evil. And they both clicked over into revolutionary empathy, making it possible for them to pull the trigger.
This is how we kill. That's what we're up against. So I think that Eric is right. I think that we have flipped over into that. Some portion of people have flipped over into that. I certainly do not think it's anywhere near universal. But when you think about there are people in your friend group that you already consider far left that want to go even farther left. When you look at the people that were cheering on Charlie Kirk's murder, when you look at the people that meme to death on the right, when the Hortmans were killed, it's like, welcome to revolutionary empathy. It's wild.
It's a sad day. And then as some people are saying, maybe we're not there. We have time. You think of like what happened over in the UK. And it's like these things are starting to fester out in different directions.
This is rough. So this was on Yom Kippur, which is the holiest day of the year on the Jewish calendar.
Switch
and
off? Yeah, thank you.
They're calling it a act of terror. So I'll say the terror suspect drove through like barricades or whatever in his car, got out and started stabbing people to death. And so I don't know how many people died, though I think I have that information.
2 people were killed and 3 are in serious condition.
Okay.
The suspect shot by police who rushed to the scene after witnesses of the attack on the holiest day of the Jewish calendar. And then the attacker is a British citizen of Syrian descent.
And his name is Jihad. Like, damn.
I mean, that kind of brings me to the Snake Eyes thing with Charlie Kirk that I think we're getting too on the nose in the simulation. I don't know he just mailing it in. I don't know what's happening right now.
Here's the bad news. Oh God, I do not want to make light of this, but this is a true stat. There are more artists named Art than stats would tell you. There are more dentists named Dennis and Denise than statistics should give you. So when you name your child Jihad, don't be super shocked when they embrace
so many directions
jihad.
he can go.
So that one is unwise.
The Yeah, that's ridiculous. It's one of these things where, are we just so caught up in this bloodlust, not meaning we're actually we don't desire to see violence, but we're so caught up in our frame of reference that we're now seeing every violent attack and we're starting to pull these things.
So you've got an accumulation problem where this is how I feel about why in the beginning I felt like I really needed to bang the drum about civil war. And now every time I mention it, I feel like super compelled to end all of those videos with like, okay, but here's the path back to the middle. Here's the path to reconciliation. Here's how you move forward well. Because the more people talk about it, the more that gets normalized, the more then, we're all leaning into it because we just expect to see it. And to say this phrase for the millionth time, doesn't matter what you look at, it matters what you see. And so if you look out at the world and you're expecting to see signs of a coming civil war, signs of a revolution, you're going to see them. You're going to see them to a degree that is more than what's actually there. So this has all begun stacking up in culture where people now are expecting to see these things, but it is based on something very real. And you literally don't have to go far. You don't have to go beyond a spreadsheet at all to predict some of the things that we're seeing right now, because these are economic in true nature. They manifest as political violence. But the reality under the hood is that this is entirely based on you put people in a desperate economic situation and they're going to act some kind of way. And that some kind of way becomes so predictable that countries always tear themselves apart from within. And they tear themselves apart from within because they say, my life is not what it could be. There's massive wealth inequality, so it's constantly rubbed in my face that other people have more than me. So even though the poorest person right now has access to better things than the wealthiest person would have had access to, even just take antibiotics that they can get for free emergency care. So it's like even if you're in grinding poverty today in the West, you're in a much better situation from a longevity standpoint than a king would have been 1,000 years ago. So, but we look at it and we go, no, things like this is terrible because I see the guy next to me has so much more. And so humans are wired to really hate that, So you've got all of that building up. So wealth inequality basically tells you where we're at on the I hate the other person timeline. The fact that young people can't buy the only asset that they understand, the fact that all of their solutions cause the government to print money more, which makes the fact that they can't own a house matter in the first place. And so you exacerbate it with the more they try to solve for the government, the world, because they're unfortunately blaming the wrong people, but they're going to say, the world has put me in a terrible situation. I want the government to give me more free stuff. And the more free stuff the government gives them, the worse their situation becomes. But they don't understand the cause and effect of it. So then you're forced down a road of just totalitarian violence, which, by the way, this is all predictable. It's very easy. I can look like a genius simply by going, oh, this is what the spreadsheet says. And I'll have call it an 80% chance of being right. And as long as I hedge my bets by saying there's going to be some level of violence, you just look like a genius. Because thankfully, I don't know how violent it will get. I just knew that it was going to get violent. So then as it starts to get violent, people are like, oh my God, Tom's been saying this for 2 years. And it's like, yes, by looking at a spreadsheet. The part that I want people to hear is by looking at a spreadsheet, I can tell you that this is where it's going. So if I can tell you that by looking at a spreadsheet, this is knowable. If it's knowable, it's avoidable. But the problem is because we're emotional, it's like, oh God, is there actually a way now, given how far along we are with the tit for tat violence, that we're actually going to be able to pull out of this? And the only thing that stops it will be just unrelenting positivity. So AI makes economics just we're booming and everybody's loving it and everybody's got so much money they just can't be mad anymore. That would work. It will be very difficult to pull off, but that would work. Or we suffer so much pain that we're like, okay, I've had enough. I'm willing to relent.
Elon Musk has been going on a crusade to cancel Netflix. This is a repost of a meme that he did. Cancel Netflix for the health of your kids. For those that are listening, it's the Trojan horse that says Netflix. Inside the Trojan horse is the transgender woke agenda. And then the Sparta is your kids. And this has 88 million views on X right now.
Damn.
It's interesting, though, because I'm glad you said that. Matt Kim, who's a political correspondent, he responds to certain things. He had his tinfoil take on why everybody wants to cancel Netflix right now. His
Let's hear it.
his thing was like, you want to cancel Netflix for trans ideology, but not the YouTubers for raising your kids. You didn't stop them from watching Mr. Beast when he had a transgender sidekick, or Miss Rachel when she had a trans non-binary character on her show. But now all of a sudden Netflix is the bad guy and they're pulling show clips from 2-3 years ago.
I want to hear his conspiracy theory because my gut instinct is just the parents don't watch YouTube. So they're just not aware of what their kids are watching, whereas they also watch Netflix. So all of a sudden it's like, oh, I know what that is.
Gotcha.
But let's hear if he's got some take.
Elon Musk is leading the charge to cancel Netflix because it's so woke. He says nothing about his own platform having unlimited porn and death available to minors, but okay. Netflix has had bad, immoral content on its platform for years. So has Disney, so has HBO, so has every single platform. So why Netflix and why now? Here's a coincidence. Elon Musk's buddy, Larry Ellison, and Ellison's son, David, they just closed on a deal to take over Paramount. The competing streaming service that also owns CBS, Showtime, Nickelodeon. And Paramount just dropped $7.7 billion to lock up the
Whether
US.
that's what this is or not, this is a worthy conspiracy theory.
All this bad kids content, you should go to Paramount. Well, we got SpongeBob and Paw Patrol, and they're not going to be trans. We got dogs on a motorcycle. So, hey, man, tinfoil hat.
Bro, firmly in place. Firmly in place. This is good. I need to follow this guy.
Yeah, Matt Kim is good.
I've never heard of him.
Yeah,
Can you Slack me that?
I got you. And then he gets more into now that Ellison owns TikTok and stuff like that, he's doing a similar empire that Elon is, and he's just kind of capping for his boy. But
dude,
as a former filmmaker, now as a businessman, where's the line between I let my artists do their thing, but now
it's going
I
to be
need
hard
to
to remove the knife in my back as a former filmmaker. Ouch. Okay, I feel some kind of way about that.
The problem is from
too accurate. Too
you
accurate.
made a movie that you
I just
decided
feel
to
some
pivot.
type of
I'm
way,
sorry.
Drew.
I
feel some type of way about that.
That was a shade.
All right. So as a former filmmaker, yes.
What's that line that Netflix will have to draw between like, okay, wait, this is gaining steam because at last estimation, their market value is down 15 billion.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, this is not a drop in a bucket, but if this keeps going, are they going to feel the Jimmy Kimmel beef? Are they going to feel the Steve Colbert beef where the president now retweets it and then now Netflix has to pivot their model?
Well, so if I'm Netflix, I do something slightly different. And what people need to understand is children's programming is entirely values driven. That is the point of children's entertainment from a historical evolutionary perspective. It's the reason that we are a meaning making machine as a species. Like we are trying to understand values and ways to behave in the world that will keep us safe and keep us able to push things forward over evolutionary timescales. And so we're wired to take in the world through story. And so forever, I mean, when I was a kid, G.I. Joe was like, they had like little PSAs in the middle of the episode and they'd be like, don't go in the water when it's thunder and lightning because the electricity travels through water and it can kill you. And so it was like, and now you know, and knowing is half the battle, right? And then every episode is going to have some theme of friendship or whatever. And so literally every piece of children's entertainment is wrapped around a theme. Rule number one as a screenwriter is what's your theme? The best piece of advice I ever got as a screenwriter was put your theme on your computer screen so that every scene you write is somehow exploring or commenting on that theme. So that's what storytelling is, especially when you're talking to kids. So there's always going to be values that are transmitted to kids. So the fact that they are transmitting values isn't the problem. The problem is we no longer have a shared set of values. And so now it's like, well, some people are like, oh my God, this is amazing. Remember, there are people that are looking at the trans ideology in these cartoons and they feel warmth. They feel an embrace of inclusion. And they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I'm so glad that my kids are growing up with this. This is so inclusive and so kind. So it's just that some people have extreme backlash against this. So I think Netflix is going to have to do something like includes like trans content, LGBT, whatever, like, and they list the things that this includes. It'll probably be something like that. That way parents can click a button and be like, no. Don't ever show my kid's algorithm.
Exclude rainbow
anything
flags.
like that. Yes, because like on YouTube, I would very much, the degree of parental control that I would want for my kids would be extreme. I want to make sure that there are certain things that my kids don't see. Like there are people that do experiments where they'll wipe an iPad. They'll do things like auto watch, because I guess autoplay is a signal that you're a kid. Autoplay an hour's worth of Cocoa Melon, and then see what the algorithm starts like showing you after that. And then they'll watch a bunch of shorts that are being recommended to them. They'll let them all autoplay. And then they see what they start getting recommended. And there's like all this crazy, violent, like ultra trippy cartoon stuff. But like Bunny goes to a lake and throws a bomb in the lake to kill all the swans. And then it's like grabbing the swans and dragging them out, cutting their own like intestines in and like pulling like a rabbit out of their guts. Like it's wild. And so I'm like, okay, first of all, a lot of this stuff I'm sure is just being AI generated. But nonetheless, like that's what your kids are getting. So I would want to be like, okay, their algorithm is going to be very good at recognizing what's violence or whatever. And as a parent, I just want to be like, no violence, no this, no that, approved channels, disapproved channels. And then now I know my kid's algorithm is going to get the following things. And algorithmic control, I think, is going to be super important. And I think people are going to go crazy demanding that whether it's Netflix, X, Instagram, that I determine my algorithm. And I think that people are going to be fiendish about it for kids. So if Netflix is watching, that would be my advice. Immediately race not to pick a winner on the values debate, but instead give parents control over what kind of content they do and don't want their kids to see, and make sure everything is tagged, and that you can't put content up that isn't tagged, and that accounts like get a reputation score. So if you've got somebody where the account itself has let's say they've been creating content for 2 years, and I mean, it's a little bit different at Netflix because they literally have buyers that like bring this stuff into the ecosystem. So this is going to be far easier for them than it will be for somebody like YouTube. So my advice is the same for YouTube, but accounts will get a credibility score. So if that account has been putting out like good stuff for years, they've never violated it, they don't get unreasonable reporting on them and all that, they're going to get more leeway. If they put something up and it's like, we're not quite sure, whatever, yeah, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Other accounts, maybe their thing is fine, but they're brand new, and so it's got to go through review, whatever. It'll be something like that, but you have to put parents in control. Now, that comes down to the debate about who owns, I know people are going to hate that word, but who owns the kid? Is it the government or is it the parent? I think it's the parent. So for me, it's like the parent should 1,000% be able to decide what their kids do and don't see. And that means they will need algorithmic control.
Okay. I want to jump over to the Ukraine right now. There's been a lot happening in regards to this war. Everybody knows Russia and the Ukraine are going back and forth, but now the tactics have changed. It's now become like an energy war where Ukraine has been attacked a critical power plant. It's been doing some rolling blackouts. There was a video from Putin saying that if Ukraine doesn't calm down, they'll start targeting nuclear power plants. So it seems like this war went from drones, artillery to now strategic dismantlement of infrastructure. And we all know what happened to Russia when it comes to the nuclear plant. So what do you think is the long-term ramification of this? And is this just the next evolution of the war?
And a lot of this is lessons that were learned from the First World War. Even hearing Churchill talk about the reason that World War II was fought so aggressively was both he and Hitler learned a very powerful lesson, which is if you let the front lines entrench, it just becomes a bloody slog. And so you're seeing that same thing play out right now in Russia, Ukraine. Like you've got people entrenched. Those are becoming very bloody. So they're trying to fight the war in all different ways. So whether that's drone warfare, whether that is cyber warfare, whether that's pulling down their energy grid or actually causing nuclear problems at their facility. These are going to be the ways. Economic really is probably the most vicious form of warfare that we see right now. The US is the king of economic warfare. So that is... It is another way for them to gain leverage over the population to make them quit. I know one that people absolutely despise, and I get why. I think it is a war crime, but you can understand why Israel would want to shut off the power, shut off water, shut off access for ships to bring things to port. Like if you can lay siege to a city, then you can get the dominance that you need to get total victory. So they're going to do, them being enemies, they're going to do anything and everything they can, literally anything and everything. Kidnap people, murder people, assassinate, drop bombs, drones, sneak dirty bombs if it gets to that point into different countries. That's a very escalatory thing, so they're going to be slow to do it, but don't think they wouldn't in the right circumstances. So yeah, it is by any means necessary. And we just, because we're such a technological society now, there are so many means by which people can do things. It's pretty wild.
It's one of those things too where you know this is on the table because it's a war, but you still think there's like the gentleman agreement, and it's like, okay.
There's no such thing as a gentleman's agreement. There is only, if I do this thing, people will do something back to me. I want to remind everybody that we are humans in the exact same way that the Mongols were humans. And when they would come into a city, they'd be like, hey, listen, we'll let everybody live. We're actually going to treat you well. I'm sure you guys have heard of our reputation. We really do integrate with societies. You can keep having your same religion, all that. You're just going to do exactly the fuck we tell you. Or we kill everybody. Kids, adults, women, doesn't matter. You're all going to die, like really gnarly dying. And some people would say no. And they were like, okay, well, if you thought we were kidding, you're about to FAFO hard. And they would just slaughter everybody. Dude, imagine going to a city. Picture a city, a small city by today's standards, but picture a city. They've got 20,000 inhabitants. Now imagine you kill all of them. All 20,000.
Jeez.
You just go in, you...
Bodies
Yeah.
piled.
And by the way, this is like swords. You don't have guns. There's no bombs. You have to go stab them all individually.
One by one.
Yep. And that's what they would do.
Do that 20,000 times.
We are that human. Okay, we are that human. So the only thing that keeps, when that breaks and people are like trying to conquer stuff, the only thing that stops that is we have escalated our weapons to the point now where people are like, uh-oh, like somebody could drop a nuclear bomb on me. So I've got to keep some things in check.
Is there a certain thing that Russia could do to the Ukraine that would make the U.S. say, "Oh, wait a second, like,
wait a second, we got to get in"?
Yeah, wait a second, like, go save them, send some people over, like,
of course,
you cross the line.
But
it has to be some type of like biohazard, and
I don't know that it has to be a biohazard, but it would just have to cross some sort of line where now the U.S. is like, okay, this could really escalate. This is now spilling into Europe, and we're going to have to get involved. I don't think the U.S. God, what would they do if they did like a tactical nuclear strike? They would certainly ratchet up. They would say, we are now officially against them. We are 100% selling as many weapons as they need, but they're already doing that. We completely authorize the use of long-range missiles. We stand united with Europe. If a single long-range missile is shot at one of our allies, we will be all the way the fuck in. If they set foot on Europe, like, we're going to back them. We're going to fund. We're going to help them with weapons. Is there a point at which they would send U.S. troops? Yes, but what it would have to, like, it would really have to kick off for them to, like, there would have to be an invasion of a NATO country before we'd start sending troops over there. But if it really did seem like Putin had just become completely unhinged and was invading Europe, yeah.
Cool. All right. That's all I got.
100 episodes, you guys. This thank you very much. Shout out to the community. You guys are the reason that we still do this. You guys are so important to what we're doing. Community is really, I think, the way forward in an AI world. So just could not be more grateful that you guys have chosen to be in this community. It means the absolute world to us. So thank you for being here. If you haven't, be sure to subscribe. And we will see you guys next week. Mad love for getting us to 100 episodes. Love you guys. Peace. Here is a truth no one tells you about scaling a business. The number one reason seven-figure founders fail is not because of bad strategy. It's people. What built your $3 million company will break it on the way to 100 million. I know firsthand. I've seen it so many times. Your team cracks, politics creep in, your A players leave, and suddenly the company you fought to build out of nothing is stalling out. I co-founded Quest Nutrition and scaled it from $0 to $1 billion sale. I've conducted more than 1,600 interviews myself. And I'm telling you right now, most founders lose because they never build a real leadership operating system. That's why I'm hosting an exclusive workshop for founders doing $1 million or more in annual revenue. But if you're scaling fast and your team is starting to crack, this will save you years of pain. Click the link in the show notes, register for the workshop now, and I will see you guys there. If you like this conversation, check out this episode to learn more. The government is officially shut down as Republicans and Democrats cannot agree on how to move forward. Trump calls for the military to be used domestically. Trump has also, though, put forward a peace plan for Gaza. We'll see how that goes. And Soros